Hey, Derek from ForeGolf Custom. Today we're looking at Callaway's new drivers, the Rogue ST. We've got the Max, we've got the Max D, we've got the LS, and we've got the Triple Diamond LS. It's all Max drivers. It's a big stability story. This is information related to fittings. So we're going to skip past all the kind of tech about the design and how it works, although it is quite impressive for stability, and Dave will talk about it in a minute. If you're new to the channel, you're very welcome. All about custom fitting. ForeGolf Custom is all about how we fit, the shafts we use, the way that we manipulate the heads, the settings, all the good stuff that you'll need to get the best setup for you and your game. Maybe subscribe to the channel, give us a like if you like what we're talking about. So Dave, I've seen this coming through, and it is a massive stability story. Love the way that the new weighting has been used in this with the carbon fiber. But why are you using this particular driver when it comes to fittings?
In a modern day driver world where nothing really spins, the trade-off is you then have to be able to get the golf ball into the air. So traditionally, Callaway as a brand is one of the easiest launching drivers on the marketplace. So that back weighted chassis, the gold bar at the back, adds one great stability, but it also adds great launch to the back of the ball. So to maintain maximum distance, if you're going to spin it low, like pretty much every driver head does these days, then you need to be able to get it in the air somehow. Loft or launch being the easiest way to do it.
Maybe talk about why they're spinning low, a little bit about why they're spinning low, and then what that does then for distance, or why would they want to spin it low?
So the optimum way to carry a golf ball the furthest and optimize your total number is to launch it high with low spin. So it produces a big, long, high arc, and then when the spin rate is low, it allows the ball to travel forward when it hits the ground as well. So the longer the arc, the further the golf ball will travel in both carry and in total.
I think that's really cool. So what Dave's talking about is the way the design in the drivers is today, they've lowered the spin ratio. So that's the number of RPM or revs per minute that's on the ball. When you lower the spin, it tends to make sure the ball goes forward and not up. So traditionally you'd have seen ball flight where it would have come out and arced up and then landed. What tends to happen is now it comes out higher and then kind of goes lower. So more like a kind of a rainbow type of flight.
Certainly, yeah.
It typically, Dave, has been hard though to manage low spin.
Well, the difficulty with low spin is if you don't get the flight right, then it just falls out of the sky. So you can think I've hit a great drive, and then you watch it and it suddenly just nosedives out of the sky.
So that's lack of spin?
That's lack of spin, yeah.
But also with the lower spin, I've noticed that if you miss it left or right a little, it can be missing a long way right.
Correct.
So I think this is where this comes into its own.
Because it's a stability story. So all the weighting is funneling to the back of the head, creating maximum or optimum stability.
Because they had Fusion a long time ago. Do you remember Fusion? And that was one of the Big Bertha Fusion. That was one of the most stable drivers we saw at the time.
A triangular base shape.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think this is even more stable?
I think so, yeah. I think it's as stable, but in a visual that people can probably relate to a little bit more.
Oh, interesting. So why then is there 4 models?
If you break the models down quite simply, so let's go Max. So that's their standard base head, very neutrally weighted, very neutrally biased. Great if your club head speed's not so quick.
Okay.
Little fades, little draws helps keep things straight.
So kind of the all-rounder.
The all-rounder, as it were.
Okay, perfect. And then the next driver, Max D?
So same driver, just with a heel weight. So that helps the head rotate quicker to the draw side. So anybody who cuts it, can't get the ball up in the air, or has a slice, that's the model for them.
So D meaning draw. So if you have a fade, this kind of closed in and keeps it from going to the right. Brilliant. And then Max LS. So LS stands for low spin. Why would they have a low spin one?
So I guess it's when your club head speed starts to get a little bit higher, you're naturally going to create some more spin yourself. So the LS takes the driver head and allows the spin to come back to allow you to hit a little bit harder.
Even though it's low spin?
Even though it's low spin.
And it spins low?
And it spins low,
So this is a speed situation?
This is the speed conversation.
So as a graph then, where would you be, I guess, swing speed wise or ball speed wise with that driver?
For LS?
Yeah.
95 to 105, that sort of range.
Perfect. So if your swing speed is 95 to 105, that's where you need to go into the LS. When this one came in, and we talked about it, so Triple Diamond LS. Why does that have to be in the range? Primarily
that's in Callaway's range to give them something to compete against Cobra's LTDX LS and Stealth Plus from TaylorMade. So the Callaway LS would tend to spin at higher speeds, that maybe 400 RPM higher in spin.
Over Triple Diamond?
Over the standard LS.
Okay.
The Triple Diamond allows you to get the same spin rate as the TaylorMade and the Cobra, but in a Callaway model. So it's a little bit deeper, it's a little bit smaller in its head shape, and it just allows it to be a little bit lower in its spin profile.
And it's also deeper in face.
Yes.
So and it can extend, so the Triple Diamond, we remember seeing it first out on tour. Some of the players had these much deeper face drivers, and I think that's where Triple Diamond has come through. If a player doesn't want a big chassis on the driver, he wants something a bit narrow, a bit deeper, I think that's where Triple Diamond comes in. So probably
very much a tour-orientated product, or very low handy.
Is there much spin difference between Triple Diamond LS and Max LS?
There's about 400 RPM in the difference of the two.
So that's probably just when you're trying to be finite about it, and we like to be finite, so be it. I've noticed a lot of Max LS 9 degree going through workshop.
Yeah.
We're building a lot of them. Why are you picking that head? What's the player kind of profile on that head, or what's the fitting scenario?
So the added complication to spin is loft spin. So the more loft you have on the head, the more it's naturally going to spin. So if you're trying to keep spin off it, that's all well and good, but then you have to be able to get the ball up into the air. So the 9 degree, because of the way the head's rotated, will allow the head to rotate and create good launch. So if your attack angle's negative, as in you hit down on the ball, or quite neutral, I'll use the 9 degree because I know it's going to launch, where if I give you the same in either the TaylorMade or the Cobra, it's going to be much flatter in its starting angle. So if you've got a positive attack angle, all these drivers work great. But if your attack angle's negative, but you've got speed and you need low spin, you still need a way to get the ball up in the air, which is where that comes into the profile.
So you're seeing a lot of negative attack angles.
Negative, well, let's call them neutral rather than negative, yeah.
Good man, I love it. So then let's pull this together. So you love the fitting sleeve on this.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a really intuitive sleeve for us. Technically, it's got a neutral setting, a draw setting, and then plus 1 and plus 2, and minus 1. You just rotate the rings to suit whatever you want for the setting. Do you like it?
It's the best tip that the industry produces. Traditionally, in most of the drivers, maybe Titleist is the only one that's like this. To have a high loft, you have to have a closed face, and to have a low loft, you have to have an open face. Where because you've got 2 separate rings, you can separate loft angle from face angle. If you can separate those 2 things, then it gives you a little bit more variability.
We love it in workshop as well, and Don does as well, because when you change the rings for the settings, it doesn't change the orientation of the grip. So if you've got one of those grips that's got a marking on it, you don't have to take the grip off. When you do with the other ones, you have to rotate it or take the grip off. Let's just talk shafts real quickly. Are you seeing different shafts in the LS versus the Max, or what are you seeing working great?
I think shaft-wise, if you take the 4 drivers and lump them into 2 categories.
Right.
So in the Max and the Max Draw, you tend to be using softer, lighter shaft with more torque because you're looking to create speed or get the ball through the air. And then in Triple Diamond and Max LS, where the player would tend to have more speed going into the ball, you'll tend to be using heavier weighted shafts, more stability, stronger tips, to try and produce this element of control at higher speed.
Are you then using loft and loft sleeve then to get the ball to fly, or are you using a shaft to do that?
I would say more, because the loft sleeves are good, and where the centre of gravity is, I'd use more of the head to produce the launch and use the shaft as the control method.
So give us a quick example. So for instance, in Max LS 9 degree, and you're trying to launch it, would you come up in loft, or would you manipulate the shaft sleeve, or would you manipulate the shaft?
I would so in the loft sleeve, I'd take you from 9 and I'd maybe knock you up to +1 or +2 to make sure that the angle's there to get it up, and then stick it at the neutral setting so the face doesn't close. So then it's all about forward movement and everything going in a straight direction.
Well, there you have it. So that's Dave's rounded version of what we're talking about in terms of this new Callaway Rogue ST driver. It's fairly complicated, but not that much if you kind of round it down and keep it to the heads. It's kind of organised in terms of what you're trying to get from it. Again, the loft sleeve we've used it a lot and we quite like it. Look, there's an awful amount of tech has gone into this, and we have skipped over a bit of it, but the artificial intelligence, the AI that's used to design the face on this driver is quite good. But the key here is the stability of this driver. If you're struggling to keep the ball straight and hitting fairways, this is a driver you really need to have a look at. Maybe get a fitting done with it, get some demo day under it. But to be honest, it's one of our most stable drivers here. We do really like using it. And they've done a really good job, even though it doesn't look like it's a big enough colourful package. There's actually quite a lot underneath the hood. We've done a review as well of the Epic driver from Callaway. It's the adjustable weight one. We'll put a link to that up above and maybe have a look at that and see. But in terms of stability, organised hit, good speed control, good spin control, you don't really need to go much further than Rogue ST. Look, if you're thinking about any questions in relation to this driver, why don't you stick them in the comments below and we try to answer as many questions as we can, and we'll see you at the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Good luck.